Let me share something with you tonight that I believe will stir your spirit and make your heart sit up and pay attention. You might have walked in here feeling a little lost, maybe unsure of your path, or weighed down by the noise of everyday life. But I want you to listen closely now, because when God calls us, He doesn't send us a neon sign with blinking lights. He often speaks through gentle nudges and subtle road markers. Yet those quiet whispers, those soft but unmistakable signals, are powerful enough to change your life in ways you never imagined. I know how it feels when you stand at a crossroads, wondering which way to turn, maybe hearing that small voice inside, but still second, guessing whether it's real. Maybe you've been praying for direction, and you're not certain if you've received an answer. Maybe you're longing for a sign that God is right there, guiding your every move. We all crave assurance. We all want to know that we're not in this fight alone, drifting aimlessly on a path that doesn't seem to lead anywhere. The world tells us to rely on our own strength, but deep down, we sense there's something bigger than ourselves at work. Tonight, I want to lock eyes with you and speak to that deep hunger in your soul for something certain, something solid, something that rings with the truth of a higher calling. Because if you're still breathing, I promise you there's a purpose for your life. If you're still moving forward, God has a plan for that forward motion. And if you're wrestling with doubt, let's confront that doubt right here, right now. Because the question I want you to carry in your heart is this: how do you know God is guiding you? We're going to uncover 5 uplifting signs, 5 divinely orchestrated whispers that say, "Child, I've got you." So lean in, because once you recognize these signs, you'll find clarity, strength, and a renewed sense of confidence in the path ahead. You won't be paralyzed by uncertainty anymore. You'll move forward with boldness, knowing that you're not just wandering. You're on a mission. And let me tell you, it's okay if you've stumbled in the past. It's okay if you felt unworthy or overlooked. God doesn't tap people on the shoulder because they're perfect. He calls the willing. He seeks out the humble. And tonight, as we dive into these uplifting signs, I want you to feel hope rising in your chest. I want you to sense that God is more than just a distant concept. He's intimately involved in your journey. You're about to discover that the direction you've been searching for might have been right in front of you all along. Let's not waste another moment. Let's open ourselves to the possibility that these 5 signs, so simple yet so profound, are God's way of lovingly steering us toward our destiny. The first sign that God is guiding you comes in the form of an unshakable peace that settles into your soul, even in the midst of chaos. You've felt it before, haven't you? That moment when everything around you is stormy, when the voices of anxiety keep telling you to give up, but somehow, somewhere, you find a deep inner calm. It's that stillness that doesn't make sense given your circumstances. It's like standing in the eye of a hurricane, yet feeling that you won't be blown away. This peace isn't about ignoring problems or pretending everything is perfect. No. It's about leaning on the assurance that there's a divine hand at work orchestrating even the smallest details of your life. Picture a time when you were completely overwhelmed. Bills piling up, relationships strained, fears creeping in during the dead of night. And then, in a moment of prayer, you felt your shoulders drop. You exhaled, and that tightness in your chest eased. That's not random. That's the Holy Spirit wrapping you in grace. The deeper we go into worry, the more powerful that sudden peace can become. But if we don't recognize it, if we don't pause long enough to say, this calm is evidence of God at work, we risk drowning in our own stress and missing the gift He's offering. So how do you know it's a sign? Look for that indescribable ease in your spirit, especially when you have every reason to panic. If you stay too busy, if you keep running, if you never take a step back to breathe, you might pass right by it. But if you stop, open your heart and acknowledge that this calm is not my own doing, you'll be amazed at how often it appears. Embrace it. Surrender to it. That's the solution to the fear that cripples you, the anxieties that keep you awake. People might say you're naive for staying calm while the world is on fire. Let them talk. Because the person who trusts God understands that storms are temporary, but His presence is everlasting. And what's the lesson here? That God often guides us not by removing the storms, but by granting a supernatural peace that proves He's steering the ship. That's the miracle. Don't chase the absence of conflict. Look for the presence of His comfort. Let's keep going. The second sign that God is guiding you is a door that closes so firmly it rattles your bones. Yet strangely, you don't feel defeated. You feel redirected. Have you ever wanted something so bad you could taste it? A dream job, a relationship you thought would complete you, a plan you meticulously crafted over years. And then you watch it slip through your fingers. It hurts, doesn't it? It can make you question your worth, your competence, your entire sense of self. But sometimes the biggest blessings show up disguised as rejection. That door that slammed in your face might have kept you from walking down a road that would have robbed you of joy and stolen your future. There's a reason we see phrases like, when God closes a door, He opens a window. But let me rephrase that for you. When He closes a door, He often opens an entire horizon. Perhaps you have a story of heartbreak or disappointment where you thought your life was over. Then, out of nowhere, a better opportunity emerged, something you never even considered. That's not coincidence. That's God saying, trust me. I know what you need before you do. But we miss this sign when we cling too tightly to what we think we deserve. When we become bitter, when we curse the closed door, we trap ourselves in frustration. The key is to realize that in every refusal, there could be a divine redirection. If you're stuck on the outside, maybe you weren't meant to enter that room at all. Instead, maybe you were meant to build an entirely new house. So how can you know it's a sign from God and not just bad luck? Look for that shift in your spirit where instead of despair, you find a strange sense of expectancy. You think? Okay. If that wasn't the right fit, perhaps there's something better out there for me. That is God aligning you with His plan. Embrace that. Use the rejection as a tool for reflection, a chance to hone your faith, to sharpen your trust. When we develop this perspective, disappointment loses its sting, and we start walking with renewed confidence. The lesson here is that God's guidance can sometimes feel like a detour, but a detour guided by God is really a shortcut to your destiny. Are you ready for the next sign? The third sign is when you feel a strong pull towards serving others in ways you never expected. Sometimes it's a stirring in your heart to volunteer at a shelter, or an inexplicable passion for mentoring youth, or a desire to create something that can heal people's hurts. You find your mind racing with ideas of how to help, how to uplift, how to make a difference. Perhaps you've never been the charitable type before, but suddenly you can't shake the feeling that your life is meant for something bigger than your own personal comfort. This is not random. When God guides us, He often expands our capacity for compassion and empathy. He shifts our perspective from what can I get to how can I serve. At first, it might feel scary. It might stretch you beyond your comfort zone, challenge your schedule, or require resources you didn't plan on giving. But the reward is so much greater than the cost. Maybe you know someone who started a community program after their own painful experience. They turned tragedy into triumph by reaching out a hand to others. That's God at work, planting a seed in your heart so it grows into a tree that offers shade to countless people. If you're not paying attention, you might brush off these promptings as mere whims. Or worse, you might ignore them because you think you're too busy, too broke, or too broken to help anyone else. But let me tell you, that urge to serve is one of the clearest signs that God is leading you to discover your purpose. To spot it, notice how persistent it is. Does the idea of contributing keep you awake at night? Does it pop into your mind unexpectedly throughout the day? That's God tugging at your spirit, saying, I have planted something powerful within you. The consequence of ignoring it is a life that may be comfortable but ultimately hollow. If you never give voice to that call, you might miss out on the profound joy that comes from impacting lives. The solution is simple and yet incredibly profound. Answer the call. Take a small step. Volunteer once. Donate what you can. Mentor someone who needs guidance. You'll be surprised how alive you feel when you move in sync with this direction. And the lesson here: true purpose is rarely discovered in isolation. God guides us into a fulfilling life by broadening our hearts for service. I promise you, when you say yes to lifting others, you'll find yourself lifted in the process. Let's continue. The fourth sign that God is guiding you is when you see unlikely confirmations and synchronicities lining up around you, little moments that make you do a double take and think, could that really be a coincidence? It might be a scripture that shows up repeatedly in different contexts. A conversation with a friend that addresses the exact issue you prayed about last night, or a random stranger speaking words that resonate with your deepest struggle. It might be the same phrase popping up in a podcast, a billboard, and a casual chat, all in the same week. When you experience these so-called coincidences, pay attention. Often, they're God's way of winking at you, letting you know He sees you and He hears your silent pleas. There's a story of a woman who kept seeing the number 11, tree 11. At first, she thought it was trivial, but as it appeared on her receipts, her clocks, Even in a social media post that changed her outlook, she realized it wasn't random. Each time, it reminded her of a specific Bible verse that encouraged her to keep going. That repetitive pattern became her anchor of hope. You might have your own version of that. But if you're rushing through life, never taking a moment to reflect, you'll miss these divine breadcrumbs, or you'll chalk them up to chance. Don't do that, because in these moments of alignment, you often find the exact piece of guidance or reassurance you needed. It's like God is saying, I know you're worried, but here, let me show you I'm real, I'm close, and I'm not leaving you stranded. The danger of dismissing these signs is that you might stay stuck in your doubt, never fully committing to the path in front of you, always second guessing your decisions. But if you choose to see them as God's gentle nudges, you'll gain confidence. You'll walk with your head held high, and you'll discover that life feels less random and more orchestrated. The key is to remain open, remain curious. Each day, wake up and ask, what do you want me to notice, Lord? And be prepared to see His hand in the smallest details. The lesson is that God speaks in many languages, through people, through nature, through repeated signs. So if you tune your heart to listen, you'll recognize His voice with surprising clarity. Are you ready for the final sign? The fifth sign that God is guiding you is an unrelenting sense of conviction about your next step. Even when you can't see the full picture, maybe you're on the verge of a career change. Maybe you feel called to move to a new city, pursue a new passion, or forgive someone who hurt you. You might not have all the details sorted out. You might not even know if you'll have the resources to make it happen. But in your soul, there's a steadfast certainty that you must move in that direction. This conviction goes beyond fleeting excitement. It's like a quiet voice that refuses to be silenced. You can try to rationalize it away, try to delay it, try to bury it under excuses, but it keeps coming back, gently but firmly, like a persistent knock on your door. That's God guiding you into an act of faith. The practical examples are endless. Perhaps you've always wanted to start a small business that serves your community, but you're terrified of failing. You've done the math, you've laid out the plan, and it seems risky. And consistency. Yet you can't shake the feeling that this is your calling, that it aligns with everything you've been prepared for up to this point. That's how you know. The consequence of ignoring this conviction is regret. You'll keep wondering, what if I had listened? What if I had taken that leap of faith? And that regret can be more painful than failure itself, because at least failure teaches you lessons, but regret stings with the knowledge that you never tried. The solution is to take one courageous step. You don't have to see the entire staircase. Just step onto that first rung. When you do, you'll find that doors open, resources appear, and people come into your life at just the right moment. It's as though a path is illuminated right under your feet. The emotional connection here is profound because when you finally act on that inner conviction, you're surrendering to a plan greater than your own. The lesson is that God rarely shows us the full blueprint. He hands us one puzzle piece at a time, trusting that we'll have enough faith to keep going. And let me tell you, each time you respond to that inner nudge. You build spiritual muscle. You grow in trust. You grow in courage. And you realize that your calling is not just a dream. It's an assignment. Now, let's bring all this together. We've talked about an unshakable peace in the chaos, about doors that close and redirect you, about that rising urge to serve, about repeated signs and synchronicities, and about the unwavering conviction to move in a certain direction. These are not coincidences. They are deliberate, powerful signals that your life is watched over, your path is being shaped, and your heart is being guided by the hand of the Almighty. Each sign alone is meaningful, but together, they form a tapestry that tells a bigger story. Your story. And that story is all about recognizing, embracing, and walking with God's guidance. Think back over your own life. Maybe you can already pinpoint a time when one of these signs whispered to your soul. Perhaps you felt peace when you should have been falling apart, or found a better path after a slammed door. Maybe you discovered your passion for service in the midst of heartbreak, or noticed unusual coincidences that led you to a life-changing decision. Perhaps you took a leap of faith because of an inner conviction you just couldn't ignore. Each of these moments taught you something. They taught you that you're not alone, that God is more than just a concept, that He's intimately involved in your story. So what do you do with this knowledge? You act on it. You slow down enough to feel that peace and let it guide you, not your fears. You view every closed door as a signal that maybe there's something better waiting around the corner. You follow the burning desire to help others, knowing your mission might be someone else's lifeline. You open your eyes to the synchronicities around you, trusting that God speaks through every channel. And when you feel that persistent inner conviction, you let it lead you to take bold steps of faith. We often worry that we'll get it wrong, that we'll misread the signals. But here's the beautiful truth. God's guidance is gracious, and He'll find a way to steer us back on course if we momentarily stray. The important thing is to keep your heart open, your ears tuned, your spirit receptive. Because the moment we close ourselves off, the moment we dismiss these signs as mere accidents, we cut ourselves off from the sweetest counsel there is. I want you to walk out of here tonight with your head high, your shoulders back, and your spirit brimming with expectancy. Don't let anyone tell you that you're imagining things. Don't let cynicism rob you of the wonder that comes from seeing God's fingerprints in your life. Instead, wake up tomorrow and say, Lord, show me where you want me to be, and give me the courage to follow you there. Then watch as miracles unfold in ways both big and small. But don't stop at just noticing. Take action. Peace without action can become complacency. A closed door without reflection can become bitterness. A call to serve without obedience can fade into self-absorption. Synchronicities without faith can feel empty. And conviction without a leap of faith will remain nothing more than a daydream. So tonight, I challenge you, commit to these signs, honor them, and let them strengthen your faith rather than feed your doubt. Realize that your journey is part of a grander design, one that's tailor-made for your gifts, your struggles, your unique story. And remember that you were never meant to walk this path alone. Look around at the people next to you, the community that surrounds you, the mentors and friends who stand by your side. We are all connected. And when we walk in unity, we become a powerful force for good. That's what happens when we collectively follow God's lead. We light up the world in ways we never could on our own. Don't shy away from the difficulties ahead. Trust that every trial is a lesson, every challenge a stepping stone. In fact, the presence of obstacles might just be the confirmation that you're on the right track, because anything worth having usually comes with some resistance. But you don't need to fear. You've got the greatest guide in the universe by your side. So take heart. Step out. Let that unstoppable peace be your anchor. Let closed doors become redirections. Let a passion for service fuel your days. Let repeated signs confirm you're right where you need to be. And let that fire in your belly propel you to step forward even when you can't see the whole road. As you do, you'll realize that God's guidance is the best kind of adventure and unfolding story that only grows richer with each chapter. There will be times you stumble, times you hesitate, times you wonder if you've misunderstood his signals. But that's all part of the process. Grace is there to catch you, faith is there to strengthen you, and hope is there to light your way. If you remember nothing else from our time together, remember this: you matter, your path matters, and the signs are all around you, beckoning you to trust in the one who created you. Don't wait for the perfect moment or a guarantee of success. God's direction isn't about guaranteeing a trouble-free journey. It's about ensuring a meaningful and purposeful one. And if you ever doubt, just look back at the footprints in your past, the ones that led you here. You'll see that every twist and turn had its purpose. And you'll realize that, yes, God was guiding you all along. Now it's your turn to stand tall, eyes wide open, heart aligned with his. Choose to see, choose to trust, and choose to act. Every breath you take is an opportunity to live out your calling. Every morning is a fresh start to say "Wes" to the signs. So let's say "Hi, yes" together and march forward with the absolute certainty that we're not alone on this road. Remember, you have what it takes, and the one who leads you has never failed. Let that be your confidence and your joy. Go forth, fully alive and fully committed, and watch as the world around you changes for the better, because you chose to answer God's gentle, guiding voice. Go make your mark, fueled by divine direction, and never, ever look back.